What is up, savage strangers? As I rab my knee into the table leg, which hurts now.
Speaking of savage.
Hey, strangers. Welcome to another episode of The Strange Sessions. As always, I'm Kurt. And sitting to my left, I actually had to think about what direction that was, is who? Introduce yourself.
Krista.
This is Krista. Just met her. Nice gal.
Yeah.
Nice
We
gal.
figure we'll give this a shot.
We'll give this a shot.
What could go wrong? How bad could it be?
Pretty bad, turns out.
Wait, I'm going to tell them that if they don't want to listen to the taste test,
Now I heard you say it this
you heard
episode.
me say it. Just check the show notes. You can skip over all this stuff. We'll have a timestamp.
I literally did not hear you say anything about
funny.
that the last episode. So what was I thinking of?
I don't know.
And this one throws me off
But
too
wait,
because
let me finish. There's a timestamp of when the topic starts. Okay, go on.
this throws me off too because this is coming out in August, even though it's the middle of July
Yeah.
when we're recording this.
We
So
don't
we're going to be
typically do
talking
this.
about just doing the episode about the faceless and the whistlers,
Which will be many episodes ago. Well, not
which
many.
was many episodes ago for you guys, but not for us.
We just recorded
It's
it.
like time travel,
Yeah.
kind of, or something. Anyway, because we just recorded the other episode, I have no shout-outs.
Oh, right.
Do you have any shout-outs? I want to give shout-outs to any of my students that still listen. I love you guys. I don't know if I told you, I went to Rob's, my old grocery store in Manitowoc where I used to work.
It still exists. Huh?
Yeah. And I went through the checkout lane one day and I threw my stuff on the counter and wasn't looking. And the checkout girl goes, I'm not even going to say hi. One of my ex-students.
Oh, that's
and then,
nice.
then the last time I was
Old
in
enough
there.
to have a job now, huh?
Yeah, it's weird. I'm running into them at jobs now. But
Oh.
and she said as I was leaving, she goes, I listened to your podcast on the drive to work this morning. And I love so much that you guys listen to the podcast. So thank you so much for still caring about me and for listening to the podcast. And just a shout out to everybody. I mean, our listeners are
Amazing.
yeah, like I've been to other podcast groups where it's just like, oh my God. Like I would have a nervous breakdown if that was our
Yeah.
group because of people
There's-
fighting.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Our listeners are so positive,
Yeah.
supportive to each other.
I love
supportive
when
to
somebody
us.
posts something and I go to respond to it, but there's already like 4 or 5 other listeners that have responded. So you guys are just amazing. Like
We do have a great little community.
we want to hug all of you and we will be making cross-country trips to hug all of you in the near future.
Yeah.
Knock on your door.
No matter where you are.
No matter where you are, we'll find you.
Yeah.
Which is a little weird because one of
little
these stories
creepy.
today is a little stalkerish.
I'm
I
not
actually
enjoying the air conditioning going on me right now.
I
I'm just
am.
gonna say that. Ooh,
I am.
Burr.
I actually originally had this episode as 3 different stalking stories.
Ooh.
But it was like way too heavy. Like it was heavy. Like I'm
Okay.
like, no. So I split this up. But we'll get into that when
Yeah,
I
we're
talk
gonna do a
about the
taste
actual
test?
episodes. This taste test. Do we have any housekeeping? No, because we
No.
just recorded.
Yeah. That's okay.
Oh, I did. I totally forgot to bring it. I went to Red Lobster in Green Bay with the teachers from Washington, my old school. And then we stopped at the Sarugi store.
Oh, the
after,
chocolate?
And I
Oh,
bought, they had
Sarugi's.
with the spinner, the Harry Potter jelly beans.
Oh, really?
So next time I come, we're going to start doing that because we've had it so easy this season.
Jeff and Joe and I did that. You and I did that too.
Yeah,
And we
that's
got
how
some
the taste test
disgusting
started.
ones.
Is that when we did the news story back in season 1, we did news stories from that year, and we did one each time. So I'm going to bring that
Yeah,
down
the
here.
spoiled milk one.
The vomit one is the one that does it for me because it tastes just like you burped.
I wish I could
so
have
gross.
gotten Jeff and Joe tasting them because they almost puked when they tasted them.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm bringing that down next time. We're going to
Okay.
do one of those during each taste test.
Okay.
Or
People are gonna love
I thought
that.
it would be cool if we do like a drinking game where if you say nope, that means we have to
Oh.
do a jelly bean. We'll have to
Okay.
think
I
we'll
like
have to
that.
think about this.
I like that.
We'll think about except by the time that people hear this, we'll probably already have started doing the jelly bean thing
Oh, probably.
because this screws me up so
Time
much.
travel
Time
again.
travel again. Taste test. This is from Aaron. We
Okay.
went geocaching one day. And we stopped at a place, and Aaron's like, dude, he's like, this sounds amazing. You guys need to try this on your taste test. And I agree. It does sound amazing. You ready?
I'm ready. I'm gonna get my camera ready. Lift Bridge Mini Donut Cream Soda. I was just gonna say something about cream soda in the last episode because you were talking about how nostalgic the fruit punch was that we tasted.
Yeah.
And cream soda has a weird nostalgia
Yeah.
to me. Oh, I'm so excited about this one.
And mini donuts. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know
Oh,
if you
who
guys
doesn't
have
love mini
county
donuts?
fairs where you are that sell the mini donuts, But oh my God, like my memories of going to the county fair as a kid all involved getting the bag of mini donuts that are like
And they're probably
greasy
still warm.
and still warm.
Oh, I want
And
mini donuts now. Yum.
They are so good. Like mini donuts are so good. So we have Lift Bridge Soda Company mini donut cream soda. There is no way this could be bad.
No.
So crack her open.
Okay.
I'll give you the sniff, the original sniff. This is from Aaron. Aaron bought this for us.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
It doesn't have a very strong smell. Okay, hold on. I'm taking a little more of this one
because you know you're gonna like this one.
It doesn't have a strong smell.
It does not have a strong smell.
Sorry, I need to talk into the microphone.
Yeah, it does not have a strong smell. I love this can.
I mean, very little bit. Yeah, that's a really pretty can, actually.
Is. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, interesting.
That is interesting.
Is it really cinnamony?
Yeah. That is not like
That's
sugar
not
cinnamon.
what I was expecting.
It's like a sugar cinnamon.
I gotta taste it again.
That is good. But that is not what I expected at first taste.
Well, that's really good, though.
Oh, my God. I love that.
That's amazing.
It's like a sugar. It is a cinnamon.
Like a cinnamon sugar donut.
Yeah.
In cream soda
cream
form.
soda form. Oh, my God. Yep. That is 100% a 10 out of 10.
Yes. I gave that one a 1 clap. Kurt applauded the Hawaiian Punch in the last episode.
Did I? Oh, yeah, I did. I went like that.
Wow. Your short-term memory is really bad right now.
Not a lot of sleep last night. As I said, I am out of it today. This
really
is a
good.
100% 10 out of 10 because
Thank you, Aaron.
I don't know what I was expecting with the mini donut taste, but it has that sugar.
Either.
It has that cinnamon sugar.
Yeah.
That cinnamon donut or that mini donuts that the county fair have. I love county fair food.
I haven't been to a fair in years.
No, I haven't been there since I was I think
years and years.
I was dating Natalie, I think, the last time. So
Actually,
that was 2005,
when
2006?
I worked at the Sheriff's Department Manitowoc, we had a booth at the Manitowoc County Fair. That's the last time I was
Kissing
there.
booth? Did you work the kissing
no,
booth?
No, it was not a kissing booth.
Work the freak show?
I was with emergency services, and it was surrounding that.
It was a kissing booth.
But that was
100% the kissing booth.
That was the last time I was at a fair. So over 10 years ago, for sure.
It's like I used to love the tilt-a-whirl, and I used to love.
Oh yeah,
we did an episode of Side Sessions where we talked about county fairs. Like that was one of our amusement parks. Was one of our topics that we talked about. Like tilt-a-whirl, I loved. I didn't love the when I was on you're against the wall holding onto these things, and it spins super fast, and then it goes like this.
Oh, I've never been on that one.
Yeah, and the guy across from me threw up.
Ooh. Did it land back in his own face?
No, because of the centrifugal force, it went behind him through the grate. But yeah. But then
There's
I was
one
at
Bay Beach called, it's a terrible name for it. It's called the Scat. But that's what it is. I know. It's these two things, and they pin you to the wall. Have you been to Bay Beach? You had to have been.
I've never been to Bay Beach.
Really?
No.
They have a little mini roller coaster.
Never been to Wisconsin
I haven't
Dells,
been there
never been to Bay Beach
since I was a kid.
I've been past Bay Beach because we got geocachers around there, but I've never actually been in Bay Beach. But
it's a cute little
I don't want to
park.
ride anything called the Scat because it sounds like you need a shower.
But they have the tilt-a-whirl, they have the scrambler, all that stuff. And I think tickets are still like 25 cents or something crazy like that.
Yeah, I know it. And it has what's the famous roller coaster that was like Elvis's favorite roller coaster? What's the roller coaster at Bay Beach?
I don't know. That's new-ish. Like,
but that was Elvis's favorite roller coaster.
They like moved it there or something?
Yep.
Oh, I have no idea. Yeah, it doesn't go upside down or anything. It's like...
I want to say Zip and Pippin.
It is the Zip something.
Is it? Maybe it is a Zip and Pippin. I remember going to Great America one year and going on every roller coaster. And it's like, I don't know if I could do that now. Yeah, I don't know if I could do that now.
I've been there too, and I couldn't do it now, probably. Heights bother me. I think being upside down would bother me. I don't know.
I think the crowd would bother me.
That too.
I think I'm better off just staying home and watching YouTube. Like the Demon roller coaster at Great America is one of my favorites. And now like YouTube videos are so like 4K, like so perfectly shot that it's like it is like riding on the roller coaster. But I used to love the Demon
like watching those.
until that one day when we were there and it was stuck upside down.
Nope.
over the sidewalk where people were down here looking up at the people that were trapped in the.
That just happened somewhere. It wasn't Great America. It was in Wisconsin.
No,
and they were upside down for 4 hours.
Yeah, I saw the video of that,
I
and
would
it's
have
like
the most raging migraine.
I would be so freaked out. I don't even
Oh
want to
my
think about it.
gosh.
So no, I think I'm done. I'm done with amusement parks.
I'm out.
Move on. What are we talking about?
Wow.
What are we
New
talking?
fear unlocked, I guess.
Yeah. So should we jump into?
Let's do it.
Jump into the episode.
Yeah.
So this is another listener suggestions episode. We knew we had to do one for August when you are
I'm going to
taking
be
off
on vacay.
for your
For
vacay.
my birthday.
Your birthday. So
We're not going anywhere.
It's still your birthday though.
We're taking the whole week off. I shouldn't say we're not going anywhere. We're going to take day trips. We're going to go to Door County. We're going to go to this place called Princeton. I just whacked my microphone.
What was that? Oh, that's shutting off.
What?
The air conditioner. Something shut off.
I heard it. I heard something. I know what you're talking about.
It like came from maybe it's the whistler in the other room. I don't know what that was. But yeah, so we knew we needed. It's good, isn't it?
So good.
We knew we needed a episode, and because I love the listener suggestions episodes, I have a bunch of listener topics backlogged. All 3 of these, I don't know who suggested them.
Sorry, guys.
Because they're all old.
Yeah.
But
okay.
not old.
Maybe they just threw it out in a message.
They might have, or
page,
in the strangers page,
yeah.
and I'm starting to write down who is suggesting what.
Yeah, we need to get better at stuff like that.
But all
like
3
I don't know who sent us what gifts anymore.
Oh, we gotta
I'm
open this
terrible at
package.
that. Oh shoot! We're all messed up.
This is from Michaela. It's heavy.
Shoot.
Do you need my thing?
I do. Should probably keep the microphone over here. I'm guessing it's not from Magic Spoon.
Magic Spoon would be kind of cool though. No,
Oh, that has really good cereal. The Magic Spoon.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, they recreate like your favorite childhood cereals, but in a slightly healthier form. Like they have high fiber and protein in it.
Why would
No,
you
they're
want that?
delicious.
Okay.
I'm sure that's not what she sent.
When I'm eating Fruit Loops, I don't want healthy. I want Fruit
Need
Loops.
that more.
Oh my god.
Again. Oh, jeez.
I just closed it.
Wow. Wow. This is too. You got to get through that.
As I cut towards
Trip
myself.
to the emergency room.
Watch me cut myself.
Wow.
I might as well cut this side too.
Yeah.
There. And this side too. As I'm going towards
Thank you.
Krista's midsection with a knife.
This is from Michaela?
Yes.
You said? Okay. Wow.
Ooh, bubble
Look at
wrap.
the bubble wrap. We're excited about
there's
bubble
a
wrap.
bunch of stuff. Oh wait, let's just take one thing out.
Yeah, let's just take the top thing. Take that out. That's interesting that has our address on it, but
You ready?
yeah. Should I set this down? We're done with this? Ooh, sorry. Ooh, there's a long letter. Is it a coloring book?
No, it's
America's weirdest places.
Hey, Kurt and Krista, I found this magazine at the grocery store and thought it could help you with your strange states. I've only visited a couple of these, and I'm going to Salem, Massachusetts in 2 days. That's one of the weird places.
I saw her posts from there.
Thank you so much for your podcast. I love stretching my imagination and contemplating things like reality or the infinite universe.
Does she have a podcast?
I don't think so. I don't think she does. Thank you for also your kind words after my Guster listener story. I love Guster. It meant so much to me to hear you say I deserve to be happy.
Aww.
Life is too short to stay with jerk faces.
Yep.
The guy was a jerk face.
Yeah, he was a jerk.
Krista, you said you want to visit New England. Know that you are always welcome to stop over / pit stop at my place north of Boston.
I love that.
I think you would love Down East Maine. I actually really want to see Maine.
Oh, this is so cool.
That's actually where I went to undergrad. It is beautiful and wild up there. I consider you two my friends, and maybe one day we can meet in real life.
Aww.
Until then, I'm going to cry. Stay strange, Michaela.
I don't know if they can see that. This is really cool. You are going to love looking through this.
I am going to love looking.
Sure.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Michaela.
thank you, Michaela.
Oh, God, you guys are our friends, too. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
absolutely.
Like, literally everybody that listens to this podcast is my friend.
Even this guy.
Even that person.
I held up the card that's never signed.
There's a bunch of stuff in here. It looks like taste test stuff. So
yeah, we'll come back to
We'll
that.
come back to that. You read that magazine first, and then I'm
Okay.
going to take it next time
Yeah,
because
I'm
I
gonna read
really
that.
do want to look at that. And Michaela, you are the last person.
She always sends us stuff,
and
too,
she is so
doesn't she?
sweet, and she's the
Yes.
last person that deserves a jerk face guy.
So
So I am
generous.
so happy.
Thank you,
She is with
Michaela.
somebody good now.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sending us stuff.
Yeah.
It always makes my day when I
So
go
glad
to
you remembered that.
check the P.O. box and there's a yellow envelope in there, which means we got a package from somebody.
Love it.
Okay, so back to...
And we're still on schedule. I would just like to
We
point
are
that
on
out.
schedule. So back to my apologies or whatever I was doing for our listeners' suggestions.
Sounds about right.
I don't know who suggested these, but I remember the context in which they were suggested.
Okay.
Our first one is something called the Nodolf incident. And this was suggested to us actually not that long ago when we talked about Dublin, Wisconsin.
Oh.
Remember that town that supposedly there's that weird picture of people at a supper club that was supposedly taken at Dublin, and that people have tried to look for this mystery town, and
it doesn't exist.
And somebody, I don't remember if it was sent to me, if it was on the group, but they said they were from Wisconsin too, and they said, "Have you ever looked into the Nodolf incident?" And I had no idea what they were talking about, so I did look into it, and we're going to talk a little bit about it now. So that is story number 1, is the Nodolf incident.
Keep thinking you're saying know-it-all incident.
No, Nodolf.
Okay.
Nodolf. The Nodolf. This comes from a website called driftlessroadtrip.com, which is about the Platteville area in Wisconsin.
It's beautiful.
I've never been there. I've never been that.
That's like where the House on the Rock. That's the area of the House on the Rock.
I've never been there. Because they said if you're looking into Wisconsin stuff, look into the Nodolf incident. And I didn't realize it was in Platteville. And this comes from the website driftlessroadtrip.com from an article called The Nodolf Nightmare. And this is really fascinating to me because I never heard of this before. So here, this is from driftlessroadtrip.com. If you've ever heard of the Platt Mound in Platteville, Wisconsin, you may have heard of its haunted house. As you approach the Platt Mound from the south, you see a row of houses, and on the far right, a farm. The old Nodolf house is hidden by the trees in the gap just to the left of the farm. And in the teaser for this, there's a picture of the house, and it's just falling apart, and it's all...
Do you know what the mound looks like?
Is this the one that has the big M on it?
Yeah, Jim and I climbed up that.
Are you serious?
I
was looking at pictures of the big M.
We did like an anniversary trip to the Platteville area, and we climbed up it, and I could barely walk.
That's
the next
awesome because I was looking at pictures. I'm like, that looks really cool.
My work bestie and I just drove by it on our trip to Kansas too.
So is it?
It's just stairs.
That's so good.
And then you have an amazing view of like the area.
Is it south?
It's like
west
southwest.
Yep. Okay.
Really west.
Past Madison?
Yes.
Okay. I need to venture. I need a good car, and I need to just take day trips around Wisconsin.
I don't know if that's a day trip.
Well, is it that far away?
It's a few hours.
Okay.
I mean, I guess we did House on the Rock in a day as a kid, though. We left it.
I want to see House on the Rock too.
I want to go back, so we should totally do that.
We should totally do that.
Take a day of PTO.
And I want to see this. I don't know if I want to climb it like you guys did, but
yeah.
So, as you approach the Platt Mound from the south, I already said this, the old Nodolf house is hidden in the trees by the gap just to the left of the farm. This unique piece of lore has fascinated Platteville residents for over a century. Locals still remember the legend of, quote, the strange night. This article will introduce you to the Nodolf family and their unforgettable run-in with the supernatural. In the 1800s, an industrious German settler named Karl Nodolf, Nodolf, also known as Charles or Carl with a K, set up his homestead near the Platt Mound. The mound is a natural rock formation that is now marked with the world's largest M. You can see pictures of that online. You climbed that. Did you climb the M?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's stairs that are next to the M.
Because the M's tilted. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Carl bought a sturdy stone cottage surrounded by lush fields, taking the first step to creating a farm he could call his own. According to folklore, he then went back to get his fiancée in Hanover, Germany. Carl was eager to take his sweetheart to America and build a life with her in the frontier town of Platteville. Is it a small town? Like, what is it?
It's a college town, right?
Like Whitewater. So it's like,
yeah.
Is there a clock? Is it like a UW in Platteville?
I
suppose there
UW
is. Now that you say that. However, Carl's dream was not to be. When he got to Hanover, he discovered that his fiancée and most of her family had died in a diphtheria outbreak a few weeks before his arrival.
Man.
Only her sister, Louise Steinhoff, and her mother had survived. Heartbroken, Carl almost gave up on his Platteville home before deciding to give the States another try. He and his fiancée's remaining family members moved to the mound and did their best to live a normal life. Not too soon after the trip, Carl noticed the deepening affection he had towards his departed fiancée's sister. The similarity between the two siblings must have been striking. As Louise Steinhoff was only 16 at the time, Carl waited 2 years to ask for her hand in marriage. Although, according to a different site, this isn't entirely accurate. The site says Carl Nodolf, I can't pronounce that last name, Nodolf. Carl Nodolf did settle by the Platte Mound in 1866. About 6 months later, he went back to his hometown of Hanover, Germany. There, Carl met with his in-laws, the Steinhoffs. The family was safe and sound, and nobody had died from diphtheria. Carl helped Joanna Steinhoff move to the Platteville area with her children, Louise and Heinrich. Joanna's other daughter, Caroline, had already moved to Wisconsin. We have so many German immigrants. There's so many German immigrants in Wisconsin. Yeah. Heinrich, yeah. Caroline had already moved to Wisconsin. Caroline had married Carl's brother, Louis Nodolf, in 1861. In 1875, 28-year-old Carl married 18-year-old Louise Steinhoff, creating more branches in the Nodolf-Steinhoff family tree. 28 marrying an 18-year-old isn't that bad. I don't
back
think.
then, probably not.
No, back then.
Even now,
back
I
then,
guess.
if you're 18, that's impressive. Because
That's
back
only
then,
a 10-year difference.
Yeah. Yep. By 1880, Carl and Louise were doing well in their Platteville home. They had 2 children, a 4-year-old named Minnie and a 2-year-old named Louie. They had the house made to be super secure, so neither intruders nor wolves could get into the house, because apparently wolves were
that was a worry.
were a huge problem back then. Were wolves. Woofs, as I say.
I can't believe you said wolves.
I can't believe I said it right either. All was peaceful until the strange night in June when a massive storm rolled over their property. Oddly enough, reports say that the dark cloud seemed to hover only over their home while the rest of the sky around was blue and serene. The soft rain turned into never-ending torrents at dusk, and the wind picked up into fierce gales. They fastened each shutter tightly and slid bolts across every door. After making sure that the house was completely secure, they tucked Minnie and Louie into bed. And I don't know if I'm reading like different accounts if the beds were actually in with the parents' room or if they had their own bedrooms, because I'm getting conflicting accounts of where the kids' beds were.
And does it matter? Does it come into play somehow?
It kind of does.
Okay.
So that was frustrating because I'm trying to find out if the kids slept in the parents' room or had their own bedrooms. The chaotic lightning of that night and the howling of wolves kept Carl and Louise awake long enough after their children had dozed off. That would be super unsettling. Lightning and wolves outside, and wolves outside your house. Louise had never heard the wolves so close to home before. At around midnight, Carl and Louise decided that they would at least try to get some sleep. Louise led the way up the stairs with her lantern as she and her husband checked on the children. After seeing that Minnie and Louie were sound asleep, they went to bed. Several hours later, Louise woke up to a super loud crash of thunder. She thought she could hear her daughter crying out for help. She grabbed her lantern and ran to the children's bedroom. Louise looked at their beds and realized that both beds were empty. Carl was also awake by this point, and the two of them ran downstairs to see if their children had wandered downstairs in the night. Not finding them anywhere in the house, Louise and Carl called out their names in panic. All they heard was the rain beating down on the roof. Then, through the storm, they faintly heard Minnie and Louie answering them from outside the house. Carl unbolted the main door and found the children standing on the steps, shivering. He ushered them into the house while Louise rushed to get them a warm change of clothes. Before she made it very far, however, Carl told her not to bother. Strangely, Minnie and Louie had not gotten wet while they were standing out in the middle of the storm. This detail was strange, considering that the house didn't have much of a porch and there was no shelter around for miles that could have kept them dry. In the words of Haunted Heartland authors Beth Scott and Michael Norman, quote, "It was as if they had been standing in some sort of invisible shell on the doorstep of the house."
I think I have that book.
I think I've seen it. I've seen that book. Carl and Louise were thrilled that their children were safe, but baffled by the strange event. They wondered not only how Minnie and Louie stayed dry in the rain, but also how they got out of the house in the first place. Mm-hmm. Carl rechecked the house and saw that all the locks and bolts were untouched. Everything was still sealed from the inside. It would have been challenging for young Minnie and Louie to reach the bolts and slide the heavy bars to the side. Even if they had managed to leave the house, who locked everything behind them? When Carl and Louise asked Minnie what happened, she said that she did not know. The more she tried to talk, the worse she started to stutter.
How old are they again?
I don't remember.
Minnie and Louie.
I don't remember. Minnie had never...
Under 10, though, right?
Around
Okay.
10 or 11, or I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Minnie had never stuttered before that night, but both she and Louis would now keep stuttering for the rest of their lives.
Oh, my gosh.
According to Scott and Norman, they were, quote, only 2 of the 8 Nodolf children to stutter. According to legend, Minnie and Louis never remembered what happened on that night. What happened to Minnie and Louis defies all logic, but that fact has not stopped people from trying to explain the unexplained. The Nodolfs themselves tried in vain to come up with a reason for what happened on that strange night. Carl thought that maybe some nomads, he used the term gypsies, had tried to carry off the children before being scared off by the storm. This theory does not really make any sense, as there were no camps or caravans anywhere near the Platte Mound at that time.
Well, how did they lock the doors
Exactly.
afterwards?
How did they lock the doors after? Neighbors speculated that perhaps one of the parents had been sleepwalking and accidentally locked the children out of the house. This explanation is also strange because Carl and Louise kept waking up during the loud storm. Recently, independent researchers have rekindled interest in the case. Some of their wilder theories regarding Minnie and Louis' disappearance include teleportation, alien abductions, and paranormal activity. Michael Winkle and other proponents of the teleportation theory cite David Paulides' Missing 411 series. These books focus on accounts where people unexpectedly vanish and disappear.
Do we have accounts going back that far?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, God, there's Missing 411 accounts going back to way, way, way back.
Okay. Most of the ones we talk about are more modern.
Yeah, more recent, yeah. The children in these cases, but so much that involves, the storm is a total Missing 4, especially a storm that comes out of nowhere and just is over their house and no place else.
Right.
So there's a lot of tie-ins with the Missing 411 trademarks and this. These books focus on accounts where people unexpectedly vanish and reappear. The children in these cases, like Minnie and Louis, seldom remember how they got from one area to another. UFO enthusiast Joseph Trainer notes that Minnie and Louis may have experienced something that they could not comprehend, like an alien craft. Not too long after the incident in 1894, local newspapers reported a strange ball of fire traveling through the sky in the Chicago area. This celestial anomaly was accompanied by a terrific peal of thunder and vivid lightning. Some theorize that odd meteor-type objects like this one were actually spaceships. The trauma of seeing or being abducted by aliens could have led Minnie and Louis to their lifelong stuttering problem.
And not remembering what happened.
Or
the aliens wiped their memory.
Finally, many Platteville residents think the Nodolf house is haunted. Some people who believe Louise's sister died from diphtheria point to her as being the ghost. After all, she would have wanted to come to Platteville with the rest of her family.
Yeah.
She could have unlocked and locked the door without anyone knowing.
Sure.
As stated before, Louise did not have any siblings who died of diphtheria, but it makes for a good story. A few of the people who have visited the old Nodolf home insist that there is a ghost because of the eerie wailing sounds that people have heard at the site. Only a few sources talk about the Nodolf incident, with the primary account coming from Irva Loomis Merrow. She was a successful children's book author from Kenosha, Wisconsin, and there is a chance that she, quote, embellished the tale when she relayed it in the 1960s. Although the Nodolf incident is less well known today than it was in previous decades, the legend does live on. I think this is cool. In 2015, Wisconsin composer Heidi Justin wrote a collaborative choral piece about the incident. The work was performed by 6th through 12th grade choir students at Platteville High School.
Oh, that's fun.
That is. The Nodolf home still stands today, and it is a great site to visit by the, quote, M. Although the walls are intact, the house is crumbling and structurally unsound. An outside glance is fine, but do not venture inside. Those who are brave enough to visit the property cannot help but wonder what really happened to Minnie and Louis on that strange night so long ago.
I suppose I could have seen it and just didn't realize what it was.
You might have. You might have gone right past it. So what do you think?
I
know what I think, but
the door was locked behind them and they're not wet is weird.
It is.
What's the logical explanation for that?
There is no, unless one of the parents were sleepwalking, threw the kids out, but then they're still not wet, which makes no sense.
Right.
And
usually people who sleepwalk have a history of sleepwalking.
Yeah.
It's not something that typically just happens once and then never again.
Well, I sleepwalked a couple times when sleepwalked. A couple times when I was a kid. I would walk into my parents' bedroom and pee in the wash basket.
Okay.
But as far as I know, I don't sleepwalk anymore. you know.
Yeah.
I should probably check my wash basket when I get home. I still am. But I don't think
teleportation.
I don't think,
But
like
why
you
weren't
said,
they wet though?
I don't know.
That's the part that's getting me. And the door being locked behind them.
Yeah.
They knew their kids were in bed when they
because they tucked them in.
I don't know. This one's kind of defies logic.
You want to know what I think?
I do. I want to know what you think.
I think the story was embellished.
Oh,
I do.
Okay, that's logical.
I really do. I think it was that Irva Loomis Miro that wrote the book talking about this. She was a successful children's book, and there was a good chance she embellished the tale when she relayed it. And I totally could see it being embellished
happening.
Because there's just
there's probably not much to verify her story against.
There's not. But
she could say whatever.
Other people swear that this happened. But I don't know. You know, but it has so many interesting missing 411 tie-ins, which I love. You know, we love our missing 411. But the kids,
I love a good
the
Wisconsin
stutter
story.
thing is weird. Like they were never able to
they experienced some kind of trauma.
Yeah. Alien abduction makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
You know, where I don't know.
Did they see any owls?
Oh, I don't know. I love owls. So I don't know. My guess is that it was a embellished story that kind of became an urban legend.
It's very logical.
But that's what I got for that. I never heard about this.
No, I haven't either.
No, and I thought it was.
I've been there.
Yeah, and I thought it was super interesting. I want to go there sometime and get a picture like outside the Nodolf house because that would be really cool. So that's my guess, is that this was an embellished story that became an urban legend. But if not, I mean, alien abduction makes sense.
Sure.
You disappear, then you wake up.
No memory of what happened. Some
unable.
Kind of trauma around
like some kind of trauma around it. But I'm going to go with embellished story.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Story number 2, and somebody recommended this when we did, Corey was on that episode, when we talked about the Watcher, that house, people were getting those strange letters from somebody.
That's in New York, right?
I think in New York. And
I think I did that story, didn't I?
I think I did.
Oh, did you?
Or did Corey? One of us. Somebody did that story. Somebody did that.
I've been fascinated. And then that became a series on, I think, Netflix.
Yes.
Which was okay.
Did you watch it?
I did.
What's her name in there that I think is so pretty? Naomi Watts.
Yes, Naomi Watts.
Mulholland Drive. She's just gorgeous in Mulholland. Did you ever see Mulholland Drive?
I don't think so.
Dang.
Is that a Robert, or what's his name? David Lynch. Thank you.
It's a very weird movie. It's a very weird movie.
Yes, I have seen it then. Now that you say that, I have seen it.
People love David Lynch, and I like him, but he freaks me out.
He's freaky.
He is super freaky.
Yeah.
He's a super freak. Kind you don't take home to mother.
Yeah.
But when we did that story, somebody said, did you ever look into the story of Bill and Dorothy Wacker? And as soon as they said that, I remember this. The next 2 stories, actually, I remember both of these from Unsolved Mysteries. They were both featured on Unsolved Mysteries. So this is the story of Bill and Dorothy Wacker. This one's like a huge nope. Huge nope.
Great.
Bill Wacker was born on March 12, 1920, in the small town of Massillon, Ohio, and was a private first class in the United States Army and served in World War II. His wife, Dorothy Jean Wacker, was born on April 21st, 1927, also in Massillon. I think it's Massillon, Massillon. Massillon. They met, fell in love, and had been married for over 40 years, leading an ordinary and peaceful life until the mid-1980s. In 1984, the couple was the subject of 2 separate home invasions where their home had been completely ransacked. They didn't notify Massillon's police department until January 16th, 1985, when their residence was broken into for a 3rd time.
That's weird.
What, that they didn't know?
That you wouldn't call the police?
Yes, that's going to show up in theories and stuff. Despite an investigation, nothing substantial was able to be gleaned, and life went relatively quiet for 6 months without any incidents. In July of 1985, Dorothy was home alone, mending from heart surgery. Unexpectedly, she heard someone knocking at the front door. When she opened the door to the visitor, the person was a young white male claiming that his vehicle had broken down and he was in need of assistance. She allowed him inside to call someone for help.
Dorothy. Yeah. Dorothy, don't do that.
Well, yeah, but
it was a different time.
It was a different time. You know, I
wouldn't even answer the door.
I probably wouldn't either. I'd like to say
I'd make Jim do it, number one.
There's nothing that freaks me out more than a knock on my door, and then I look out the peephole and I don't know who the person is.
Yeah, forget it. I'm not answering that.
But this was the 80s. It was a different time.
Yep.
So she allowed him inside to call someone for help. After the phone call, Dorothy heard the man say his goodbyes, and she assumed that he left the home. Believing she was
check.
I probably would do a little walkthrough of the
maybe actually escort them out the front door. But yes, go on.
Yep. Believing she was by herself, she was soon knocked unconscious as someone walked up behind her and bludgeoned her over the head. A short time later, she came to on the kitchen floor, tied up and gagged, but nobody seemed to be inside the house. She was able to crawl to a kitchen window that was open and shout for her neighbors, and they immediately called the police. When the police, along with medical assistants and her husband Bill, arrived at the residence, Dorothy was able to provide a description of her attacker. A composite sketch was created from her details of the man. He appeared to be in his mid-20s with blonde hair and blue eyes and approximately 5'9" in height. Bill soon discovered that an antique watch, movie camera, radio scanner, and his .22 caliber revolver had been stolen. Additionally, there was a message written in crayon on the kitchen wall saying, quote, "Cheaper, but will do." The message written on the wall was vague, but law enforcement visited an assortment of pawn shops and street dealers in the hopes of locating the stolen items or getting a suspect, but none of the items were found at any shops. The lives of Bill and Dorothy only became stranger as time went on. They began receiving harassing phone calls all hours of the day and night. The caller persisted to threaten them with extreme violence or occasionally just breathing heavily into the phone without speaking a word. That freaks me out so much. Like phone stuff. Bill and Dorothy changed their phone number several times, hoping the phone calls would stop, but shortly after changing the numbers, the calls would always resume, which is weird.
Mm-hmm. Like, how's that possible?
Months passed by, and the torment escalated in even more unnerving ways. At random hours of the night, Bill and Dorothy would hear loud pounding on the exterior walls of their home. The harassment prompted Bill to install security lights on the front porch, hoping that this would force the individual or individuals to stop, but the problems only increased. One morning after putting the lights up, Bill walked outside into his front porch where he found a handwritten note that said, quote, "Your lights are a laugh."
Oh, come on.
Yeah, lights with a Z at the end. Your lights are a laugh. The family would continually discover more notes on their porch that were later examined by law enforcement, anticipating to acquire fingerprints, but to no avail. According to their theory, they believed that the writer was trying to conceal his or her handwriting by using their non-dominant hand to write the messages. In a strange turn of events, in November of 1985, 4 months after Dorothy was assaulted in her home, Bill awoke one morning to discover that his .22 caliber revolver had been returned overnight, placed on his front porch inside a shopping bag. Periodically after this, he would receive the remaining 3 stolen items in the same method, which is weird. You know? Like the person took these from the house and now they're bringing them back. It's like, why? The police attempted to retrieve fingerprints from the returned items, but they all had been wiped clean. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months and months into years, and the torment never stopped. 8 years after the initial physical assault on Dorothy in July of 1985, she was attacked once more on Wednesday, October 27th, 1993, where she was admitted to Affinity Medical Center to be treated for concussion and skull lacerations. Oh my gosh. Initially, the authorities suspected Bill to be the man behind his wife's attack and the persistent harassment over the years, but both Bill and Dorothy denied these accusations.
What would be the point of that?
The following month in November, Bill came up with a plan that included numerous family members. The group consisted of 6 members paired into twos with walkie-talkies. They were assigned different positions to watch the home overnight, hoping to catch the culprit, but after hours of waiting with no activity, they called off the stakeout for the night.
What year is this?
1993.
I mean, video cameras exist.
Yeah.
So
that night, while Bill and Dorothy were asleep, they were awakened by loud banging sounds on their front porch. Bill quickly ran to the front door, but by the time he arrived, the individual causing the noise had fled. However, another note was left behind saying, quote, "Get the message."
What's the message?
I don't know. This was the last.
It all just seems so pointless.
This was the last reported activity from the person harassing the elderly couple. Their story was later featured on the television show Unsolved Mysteries on May 25th, 1994. Though the case generated more awareness and attention, it was unable to provide any answers or closure. Bill Wacker passed away 5 years later on July 9th, 1999, at the age of 79 years old, and was buried at Newman Cemetery. On July 22nd, 2010, Dorothy Wacker passed away at the age of 83. Sadly, Bill and Dorothy Wacker passed away without receiving any answers to who was behind the harassment and what the motivating factor was. Other than Dorothy's account of when she was assaulted, there had been no pivotal suspects or leads. The most prominent theory from the Massillon Police Department is that a neighbor or family member is behind the onslaught that transpired for 9 years. Nevertheless, the case has gone cold and to this day remains unsolved.
It feels like it would have to be very personal for someone to go on that long.
It's weird. So now we get to theories,
Okay.
and there's a bunch of theories. Theory number 1, random person.
It just doesn't make sense, though.
And
I mean, unless that person is psychotic. Like,
but
why would
for all those years?
Right. Why would some random person do that for so long? Unless they, I mean, people stalk random people for years, so it happens, but.
It does, but for that long? I mean,
Yeah,
that just makes
crazy. That would be a nightmare, dude.
That's why this freaks me out. This is
Yeah.
like 100% a nightmare.
Yeah.
Like living through something like this?
I can't imagine.
Uh-uh.
I'd want to move, but then they could just follow you.
Well, apparently changing their phone number is not doing any good.
Which is weird because back then, all we had were phone books,
Yeah.
guys.
Yep.
It's not like they could Google you.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so theory number 1, random person.
I don't like that.
Theory number 2, family member.
That's more believable.
Somebody on Reddit writes, quote, "That part always makes me wonder if they had some idea of how it was and it was a family member with a known issue and they didn't feel comfortable outing them, but it eventually became too much for them. This case is so weird and I always go back and forth of what might have happened and whether the Wackers were actually involved or had some idea about who was doing it, but they didn't want to reveal it for some reason. The only problem is that the woman saw the attacker who used her phone. So if it was someone she knew, she would have known if he was at the house that night. My guess is that it was just someone with a connection to someone they knew just from the fact that he somehow kept getting their new telephone number every time they changed it. Only a person who they wanted to have it would have access to it. Maybe a more distant relative who they weren't aware of or haven't seen for many years. But why would you do that to your relative?
I just don't understand. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it was
People
a distant...
do things that don't make sense.
Maybe it was a distant relative, so his face didn't strike a chord with her when she saw him. Or maybe it was a repairman who paid regular visits to one of their relations, knew where the owner of the house kept a personal telephone directory, and copied it when he was there on a service call. That's
very elaborate.
Yeah. The only way he could have repeatedly obtained the new telephone number after it had been changed was from someone who knew it. Somebody else responds, I am also of the mind that they knew who was doing it, and that's why they didn't report it.
That could be.
I'm not entirely sure it was a hoax. I just don't see an elderly couple, one of whom was recovering from surgery, going through all this trouble.
You know, they have like a drug-addicted grandson.
Covering for a troubled family member. I can see that, though.
And she just gave a description because she felt like she had to.
Yeah. Somebody else writes, the only possible theory I can come up with for neither of them being involved is I remember reading or hearing that a company was trying to buy the house there for the development, and they were the holdouts. Now, I don't think a company would go... That's like a Scooby-Doo thing.
Insane.
It's like a Scooby-Doo thing.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think a company would go through these lengths. However, it is possible that one or more of their family members wanted a cut of the money and did this to get them to sell and leave, getting one of their buddies to go to the house and tie her up, orchestrating the burglaries, etc. Certainly, the messages would indicate something like that, which is true. Like it says, get the message.
Who says they'd get a cut?
I don't know. I just cannot think of any reason that they would specifically be targeted like this for
really
so
add up.
long.
Yeah.
Kids and teens would grow bored. They certainly would not be doing this for a decade. They don't appear to have made any enemies either. So
that we know of.
That's theory number 2, family member. Theory number 3, neighbor. Somebody on Reddit says, I can't imagine it being anyone else but a neighbor. Bill and Dorothy both reported hearing someone banging on the side of their house at night, but they never reported hearing or seeing a vehicle, which is true. I think it'd be pretty hard to bang all around the outside of the house and then run to a getaway vehicle without being spotted by the time the family woke up and looked out of the window or the front door. Either it was a neighbor who could quickly run home, or the person or persons were hiding in the shadows somewhere. Somebody else responds, if it was somebody who really wanted to do them harm, that person had plenty of opportunity to murder them, set fire to their house, etc.
That's true.
Yet all they did was steal stuff and then weirdly return it.
Kind of harass them.
Yeah, make banging noises and leave cryptic notes. The only violence was the alleged 1985 attack on Dorothy, which we only have her word actually happened, and the 1993 attack that did obviously happen, but again, nobody saw anything. That the handwriting was disguised makes it clear that their writing would have been identifiable to the Wackers, and that makes sense.
Yeah,
you want to hide your handwriting because they might recognize it. Or during police taking handwriting samples from them and the family members and neighbors for comparison, which if they didn't do it, it would be amazingly remiss. Theory number 4, Bill was doing it. Somebody on Reddit writes.
Also, why?
Yeah, somebody on Reddit writes, many of the phone calls and banging on the front porch and exterior of the home occurred when both Dorothy and Bill were present and sleeping. I suppose.
It said many.
Many of the phone calls and banging on the front porch.
I mean, some occurred when he wasn't there too. But
I suppose it could be possible that Bill had paid someone to do this for whatever reason, but I just don't understand why he would put himself through that situation for 9 years. Who knows? And then somebody else.
After 40 years of marriage, was he trying to spice things up a little? Like, I don't get it.
And somebody else writes, I totally think the husband had something to do with it, but not the wife. I find it hard to believe she willingly gave herself 2 severe head injuries. Yeah. But why would Bill do this?
It makes no sense. Do you think this whole thing is made up?
I don't know. Theory number 5, it was Dorothy. Somebody on Reddit says, I wonder if she continued
blaming.
Yeah. I wonder if she continued receiving harassment after her husband died. If not, then I would bet it was a hoax or a bizarre bid for attention from the husband.
Didn't it sound like it ended before he passed away, though?
Yeah. But somebody here is claiming that she's doing this to get attention from her husband, which is a really roundabout way of...
Yeah. Why would she wait 40 years to do it?
Yeah. And somebody else on Reddit says, nobody can find any record of any harassment post the stakeout in late 1993. The segment aired in May of 1994, so they must have been there filming in late 1993, early 1994. I lean towards Dorothy, and a lot of people mention this. I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to post the links to this in the Strangers, the Unsolved Mysteries thing. But they say, I gotta
see these people.
I lean more towards Dorothy. She was smirking during them being interviewed on the Unsolved Mysteries segment. She was the one who was attacked twice. The first time, despite multiple break-ins, happy to let a total stranger into her house to use the phone while she goes back to the kitchen. That doesn't add up.
It is weird.
Somebody else says, I get the impression Bill might have not been the easiest guy to live with and might have been disliked by her and at least one of the family who had to have been in on it with Dorothy if she was behind this to tie her up, attack her, and plant evidence without being seen or suspected.
But why? What is the motive to all
of it? The dislike probably started as a prank or two to get him head up. I like the phrase head up, to get him hot. And then just snowballed from there as they enjoyed seeing his reaction. That makes her into like a sociopath or like 100%. A psychopath.
Yeah.
She might have had
if this really happened, whoever did it was a psychopath.
She might have had a desire for attention, and Bill came across as perhaps not being a guy who was really going to give her that, so she created her own attention. That's totally victim blaming. What is most frustrating about this case, like so many pre-internet, is there is nothing out there other than really the details from the Unsolved Mysteries segment. Nothing to say conclusively whether this carried on after the segment aired, what the police response was, etc. I wonder if there are local papers on file there that could be searched to find more details of the incidents post-1993. Somebody else writes, my best guess is Dorothy was an attention seeker who perhaps didn't have the greatest life with Gruff Bill and wanted to get back at him and enlisted the help of one or more family members to orchestrate everything. So her smirking on the Unsolved Mysteries segment denoted that she was just enjoying the whole thing. But everybody has different reactions to stuff.
100%.
You know, like if you're being interviewed on TV, you might smile because you're on TV.
Also,
you're not smirking because you're the one
laugh when they're recounting really traumatic events.
Oh God, that shows up all the time for people that talk about stuff like this. What was not the Columbine, but the other school shooting?
Sandy Hook.
Yes, Sandy Hook. That some of the people they talk to seem to be smiling and happy, and it's like you can't say that the person is making this up because everybody has different, she could have just been smiling because she's got a TV camera in her face.
My brother gets the giggles at funerals.
Yeah, which is understandable.
Yeah.
But everybody is pointing to her smirking in these, but I didn't watch these.
Yeah, I want to watch it though.
But everybody points towards her smirking as being like she's getting one over on everybody, like she was doing this. Also, why, if you had a series of break-ins where you let a total stranger into your house and then go to the kitchen, letting him have free reign of the house? Isn't it funny that both reported attacks happened to her and not Bill? Probably the 1993 attack went too far, and when she realized she could have died from her injuries and the subsequent publicity on Unsolved Mysteries sated her need for attention, everything suddenly stopped. It's highly unlikely anybody would keep up a campaign like this for nearly 10 years, especially without saying just what their beef was with them. Obviously not kids pranking due to how long it went on for. When things like this have happened with telephone calls, it turns out to be somebody in the house doing it when investigations happen. I don't know what that means. And also, why wouldn't they have had cameras installed at some point to catch the person or persons responsible?
That's what I said.
Wouldn't the cops, if they really believed citizens were being harassed, do something like having undercover officers watching the house, etc.?
Mm-hmm.
Theory number 6, it was a hoax by both of the couple. Somebody on Reddit says, I've seen people faking this stuff all the time, which is why I know these two are just crazy old bumpkins. There you go. Somebody else writes, I wonder if everything stopped in 93 or 94 because somebody offered to buy them security cameras and or trace the phone calls, and they knew they couldn't continue the faked harassment without their hoax being exposed.
We don't know that
No.
happened.
It's also quite ridiculous that the house was ransacked twice before they decided to alert police.
Yeah, that's weird.
Like, that's something you brush off once, let alone
weird
twice. Come on, that is. It's like the third time their house was ransacked that they called the police. Somebody else writes, they prefer to be tortured for 8 years instead of moving to a new house, which is true.
But they could have... Whoever it was could have just followed them.
But moving is easier said than done, too.
100%. You know how many times we watch those haunted stories? We used to watch them on the... Well, we wouldn't be on the phone.
God, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I totally forgot we used to have our date nights that we'd watch. What was the show?
It was...
Paranormal Encounters?
Haunting. I think it was a haunting or something, wasn't it?
Wow, I totally...
Jim would be playing volleyball, and I would be
you
home
and I would be
alone.
watching
We'd
it
be
together, texting each other. I totally forgot about Paranormal Witness.
Oh,
Paranormal Witness.
But how many times do people say, we put all of our money into this
Yeah,
house.
you can't just
move.
up and move to a new house.
Right.
You know, somebody else says, sounds like the couple were weaving an attention-seeking tale. Not only does the behavior of the supposed harasser seem illogical, even by mentally disturbed person standards, but there's very little in the way of hard evidence and no witnesses despite the years of supposed abuse and harassment. Don't get me wrong, some people are psychotic and some neighbors can be straight from hell. I've had a couple, but usually there's more of a clear pattern to such things, as well as being able to identify whom the troublesome neighbor is. If you have Amazon Prime, the episode of Unsolved Mysteries where the story is featured is season 6, episode 23.
Okay.
So what do you think of this?
I don't know.
I remember this freaking me out a lot. Like, there's nothing that freaks me out more than owning a house and people banging on your walls at night and like this harassment. Like,
I mean, home intrusion is one of my greatest fears.
Yeah, like in The Strangers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or just the idea that somebody's been in your house. I'm so worried that someone would take Lucy one day. Like, I just have so many fears about home invasions.
I would take Lucy.
Well, she'd be happy with you.
She would be happy with me. Yeah, this is like a huge nightmare of mine. The phone calls, like the weird phone calls, like...
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Being the target of something like that is really scary. I feel like none of the explanations makes any sense, though. What is the why? Other than trying to seek attention, who are they trying to seek attention from? Their family members, the public.
Well, so they were on Unsolved Mysteries, and that's kind of
I guess. But then it stopped after that. I don't know.
But when you see a picture of them, they're just like this nice-looking old couple. Like, I can't see them concocting this whole thing. You know, but then people said it was weird that when they had their stakeout that one night, nothing happened until after everybody had left, and then the knocking. You know, the knocking happened again, and
I think the most logical explanation is they made most of it up.
You think so?
How do we know any of it happened? There were no witnesses.
Well, her neighbor came in to untie her off the floor, but like she said, if she would have had a family member tie her up as part of this, I just don't like. I'm just really against the idea of saying that it was their
I do too.
doing, because that makes that's so crappy to say that. Oh, you guys just totally fake that, but. Like, the guy's stuff gets stolen and then it gets returned bit by bit, left on his front porch in a bag. That makes no sense.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
The notes were like really, they didn't make any sense. Like, what do you want?
Yeah.
They never said what they wanted.
No. They left like these random notes that said, get the message, cheaper, but we'll do. Your lights are a laugh.
Yeah, that's weird.
Your lights are a laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Very mocking.
I don't know. This one is just weird. Like, I don't know. I don't want to blame them and say that they were faking it or that she was faking it or that he was faking it. But again, that's the most logical explanation, because why would somebody harass them for 10 years?
10 years. That's commitment, man.
And never do more than this.
Yeah, but again, there's hardly any evidence that any of it actually happened other than her physical injuries.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird.
There you go. There's the story of the Wackers. This one's
going to remain a mystery.
I think. Because I don't think anybody's ever going to figure this out.
Mm-mm.
But so many people are saying it was her. So many people are saying it was him. So many people are saying it was them together. You know, and that seems to be the common assumption is that one of them or the both of them were faking this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't.
I don't like that.
I never
idea.
got that vibe. I really never got that vibe.
That's why I want to watch it. I need to see them for myself, see what kind of vibe I get from them.
I just never thought it was them doing it. And we get to the last story. This might be a shorter episode.
Okay.
We get to the last story, and this was suggested. We had talked something about California. And did we ever do a Strange States, California?
I don't think so. I need to get the stickers to put on the map.
Yes, and California is like our biggest. That was one of our biggest listening audiences.
We have a huge listenership in California.
But California is weird. There's a lot of weird stuff. You know, like I need to get out of the mindset when I hear California. I think of San Francisco. I think of Los Angeles. Like so much of it is wooded and is
state.
It's a huge state, and it's a very weird state when it comes to like paranormal activity. Like a lot of stuff happens there.
Very close to the Pacific Northwest area where a lot of weirdness
and we
goes
mentioned
on.
something about California weirdness, and I don't remember who it was. I don't remember if it was sent to me or in the group, but somebody asked if we knew the story about the haunted Toys R Us. And I did because I watched this in the 80s on Unsolved Mysteries. And it was like, I was super in love with this story of the haunted Toys R Us.
Toys R Us is so nostalgic.
It is, but I couldn't tell you. I know it's closed, and I think it's maybe in the process of reopening. But
I know there was one in Green Bay.
I just remember bugging my parents to take me there when I was a kid because everybody wanted to go to Toys R Us when you were a kid.
I remember the commercials. Wasn't there a giraffe? Like the giraffe?
Yeah, Jeffrey the giraffe.
Jeffrey the giraffe.
Jeffrey the giraffe was like the mascot.
Yep.
And I think some of them are opening again, but like we were talking about before we recorded this episode that
Amazon's pretty much wiped everyone off the map.
Online shopping wiped out stores like Toys R Us. And the fact that you kind of didn't want to bring your kids there because they would want every single thing.
You'd end up spending way too much money.
So from a July 3rd, 2016 article on Stranger Dimensions called, quote, The Haunted Toys R Us of Sunnyvale, California, the article says, the story is a bit cliche. A property in California once belonged to a man named Martin Murphy. In the 1880s, it was a plantation where he supposedly employed a preacher named Johnny or Johann or Yanni Johnson.
Okay.
And I remember from the Unsolved Mysteries thing, they would call him Yanni Janssen.
Yanni Janssen.
Yanni Janssen.
Is that very Norwegian or something?
Now, Johnny supposedly suffered from encephalitis and was nicknamed Crazy Johnny, but he had a thing for Murphy's daughter Elizabeth. Let's just say it was never meant to be. One day, Johnny learned that Elizabeth was planning to leave and marry a lawyer. He didn't take the news well. Later, while out angrily chopping wood, he missed a swing with the axe and struck his leg, fatally wounding himself and bleeding to death.
Yikes.
Ever since, his restless spirit is said to have wandered the same land, searching for Elizabeth. It just so happens that old farmland is now home to a modern-day Toys R Us. And like weird things happen on the site. According to an article on the Morbid Library website called The Haunted Sunnyvale Toys R Us, the article says, quote, there have been all sorts of phenomena reported by employees and visitors to the Sunnyvale Toys R Us. Toys were routinely pushed from shelves that they were securely placed on moments before. The spirits seemed to favor dolls and trucks. There were also unexplained breezes throughout the store, and they were always cold breezes. Baby swings and rockers would move on their own. Many employees also repeatedly heard their names being called when nobody else was near them. Overall, typical haunting fare. Creepily, the phenomena also manifested in the women's bathroom. Not both bathrooms, just the women's. The faucets would constantly turn on by themselves, on and off, doors would open by themselves, and women who entered alone reported feeling something playing with their hair gently.
Oh, no.
Despite the invasiveness of this experience, none of the women who experienced it claimed like they felt like they were in danger. And then in parentheses, but still, Johnny, boundaries. And finally, an employee who has spoken very openly about what they experienced during their time at the Sunnyvale Toys R Us claimed to have seen the apparition of a young man. They described the spirit as being a male in his 20s or 30s wearing a tweed hat, white shirt, and baggy kneed pants, often referred to in retellings as knickers. The spirit did not acknowledge this person at all and just walked right past them. The Stranger Dimensions website says, the spirit antics were as you'd expect. Employees of the store complained about hearing their names called constantly by a disembodied voice or feeling touched by an invisible hand. Objects would often launch off of shelves. Unexplained footsteps echoed through the aisles. Even in the bathroom, doors seemed to open and close on their own, and the water would turn on and off by itself. One incident recreated in that episode of the show Real Ghosts. I'm going to have both of these segments, I think, in the Strangers for people to watch. The Real Ghosts one is hosted by Leonard Nimoy, and I don't think I've ever seen the show Real Ghosts. One incident recreated in the episode of Real Ghosts involved a mysterious voice whispering through the store's PA system saying, quote, "The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away." That's creepy.
That is creepy.
They would also witness the occasional manifestation, the ghostly figure of a man in his 20s, dressed in old-fashioned clothing. Sometimes he'd be clear, other times he would appear as a shadow person. So segments about the haunted store showed up on 80s TV shows like That's Incredible and Real Ghosts. Maybe it wasn't on Unsolved Mysteries. It might have been on That's Incredible, which was a big 80s show too. And Real Ghost, hosted by Leonard Nimoy. One of the big points of contention about the John Johnson or Yanni Janssen story comes from the fact that it came from psychic Sylvia Brown, who did a seance in the store. And there's a lot of people that don't like Sylvia Brown.
Wow. I just take all of those celebrity psychics with a grain of salt.
Yeah. But she did a seance in the store. Talk to our listeners for a second. I got to get something up here.
What was your favorite toy at Toy? I don't know. I only remember going once or twice. It wasn't a place we went a lot, but it was fun.
I mean, I remember going there like looking
Literally
at video
just a toy
games.
of
So
stores.
it was
a toy
around.
of stores. Did you hear what I just said?
No, I did not.
Literally a toy of stores.
It was a toy of stores and a store of toys.
And a store of toys.
Keep talking to him.
Every time you tell me to do that, my mind goes blank.
I'm trying to get this up because I want to show you this. I mean, wow. Never mind.
Just let that
I didn't
go.
even. I totally didn't even realize that.
What are you trying to show me?
A picture that's
Of the
gonna
Toys R Us?
You'll see.
Okay.
Except I don't get a good
Will
signal
I?
down here.
Oh.
So you might not see.
My glasses. Should I look it up? I have Wi-Fi.
No, I got it.
Okay. Oh, that's what we heard before.
What is that?
The furnace, or not the furnace, the AC is... We heard it cutting out before. Wow. That's loud. This is riveting for everyone, by the way.
Keep talking to him.
I'm not editing this out.
Keep talking to him.
It's just so much work.
I remember like KB Toys, like going
KB
to
Toys. I
toy
forgot about
stores in the
that.
malls.
Yeah. Malls. Remember malls?
I remember malls. Okay, now I got the picture. All right. So Sylvia Brown goes in, and I can't remember if it was on That's Incredible or Real Ghost, but they showed like doing a seance and stuff. According to a 2021 article on crack.com called, quote, "The Time a Haunted Toys R Us in California Hosted a Seance," the article says, the now defunct toy store in Sunnyvale, California was built in 1970 and almost immediately said to be haunted. The spooktacular stories told by employees mostly range from flying dolls and stuff just generally being out of place to people claiming cold breezes, phantom hands, and an eerie voice calling out to them. It wasn't long before medium Sylvia Brown was summoned to perform a seance inside the store because that's probably just the most Californian thing to do. Brown claimed that the ghost who ended up haunting the newly built Toys R Us store was a Swedish preacher named Johnny Johnson, really, who worked on the Murphy farm in the 1880s before it became the city of Sunnyvale. Johnny Johnson, we're saying his name again because if you say something enough times, it sounds more real and not totally made up. Wow, they're really snarky in this article. Fell in love with Farmer Murphy's daughter, Elizabeth. She, however, didn't care much for...
So wait, is this all coming from Sylvia Brown? Like, this is the only way we have this story?
Yep. She, however, didn't care much for Johnny and instead ran off with some lawyer dude, leaving sad Johnny Johnson to die alone after accidentally chopping his leg off instead of a tree and bleeding to death before he could find help. Damn, that took a turn. It gets even more bonkers because after the seance, Brown then struck up some pseudo-relationship with the ghost of Johnny Johnson, one she would later describe in detail in her book, quote, "The Other Side and Back, A Psychic's Guide to Our World and Beyond."
Like what kind of relationship?
Sexual dating relationship.
Have you seen Sylvia Brown?
No. Okay. Because if a tree falls in a forest, did the psychic know about it if they didn't write a book? Apparently, Brown and Johnny Johnson, who we wish were from Wisconsin, apparently had many an argument during their, quote, meetings, and the relationship sounded pretty darn manipulative, so we don't exactly know what Brown was projecting here, but that's maybe for the best. What we do know is that her story about the... Oh, well... What we do know is that her story about the broken-hearted preacher doesn't really check out. For one, Elizabeth didn't run away with some East Coast lawyer, and Johnny Johnson didn't even meet her because she died long before he went on to work on the Murphy farm, according to historical records.
So there actually are records that this person existed.
But it doesn't fit. Like, the timeline doesn't work.
So she could have done a little research on the area.
And then they go on to say, no, wait, scrap that, because there's actually no record of a Johnny Johnson or a Jan, which is said to be a Swedish name, in California's census records.
Sorry, I said Norwegian.
Some have claimed old newspaper clippings as evidence of Johnson's grisly death, but those don't seem to actually exist either. But who cares, because those are just pesky facts trying to ruin a good ghost story. But there was a picture taken during the seance that supposedly shows the ghost.
Is that what you're going to show me?
Yes. And this is the picture this is them doing the seance in the store. Oh, this is the Wackers.
Oh. He looks like an actor.
He does. Marlon Brando, kind of.
No, I'm picturing
this was taken in the seance in the store. And people that were at the seance say that the person standing back there was not there. There was nobody there standing there when they took this picture.
Doesn't look like he's dressed in old-timey clothes, though.
But there's something weird about his leg. His leg does look weird. Like the angle of his leg as he's standing there. But people say that there was nobody there when they took this picture. And in the background, there's the guy leaning against the wall.
So I think that he looks like
Lewis.
Yes. Juliette Lewis's dad. I can't think of what his name was.
Jeffrey Lewis.
Thank you. That's who he looks like.
Yeah. But that's what people say is the ghost photo. And that they swear that this guy was not standing there.
I mean, that's amazing if he wasn't, but he doesn't look like he's wearing
No,
knickers.
but I think that...
He's not wearing knickers and a tweed hat.
I do think that the place was haunted, but I think the whole Johnny Johnson story wasn't made up, but this might be what the actual ghost looks like.
He looks like some dude from the 70s.
He does.
He kind of looks like he has not bell bottoms, but
the pants do look 70s-ish,
yeah.
But people swear that he was not there. But
maybe he's a ghost.
Who knows? According to the Morbid Library website, no brick and mortar Toys R Us stores exist anymore. For a time, while the building remained vacant, Spirit Halloween occupied the building seasonally in the time around Halloween. How fitting. The most recent development in the Sunnyvale saga is the fact that REI, and I hear that a lot. Is it Ray? Do people call it Ray, or is it REI?
It's a camping place, right?
REI has bought the building this past month. For those of you unaware, REI stands for Recreational Equipment Incorporated. The company sells equipment and accessories for camping, fitness, sports, and travel. At least a ghost will still have balls to play with, I guess. So now on the Haunted Places site, people left comments. So I looked up comments, and some of the comments include... Somebody says, true or not, I know what I experienced there in my teens was definitely not normal. I was in the women's bathroom completely alone one night when all of a sudden a faucet turned on. When I came out of my stall, no one was in sight, yet the water was still running. I ended up turning the water off and leaving the restroom weirded out. Somebody else says, I worked there in 1976 as a seasonal worker. I was doing custodial work, and yes, the place was haunted back then. I don't know about now. I could not walk into the back warehouse more than 20 feet without a force pushing and holding me back like hands on my chest. I used to test how far I could make it into the warehouse before almost peeing in my pants. Also, the women's room water was on a lot when I would go in there to clean with all the toilet paper rolls unwound on the floor.
That's weird.
One late night...
You could explain away the water as plumbing issues, but...
One late night, a coworker and I were straightening the game aisle and turned around to see all of our work reshuffled. Place at that time was scary, no doubt.
Poltergeisty.
Yes. Somebody else says, I worked at that Toys R Us during that time, and I don't care what anyone else says, things did happen. Sure, Sylvia Brown was a fraud. Having said that, I was there for the seance, and I can tell you that something did happen. We were sitting in the game aisle on the floor. The air conditioning was off, so it was warm in there. Then it got freezing cold. I wasn't the only one who felt it. The air conditioner never came back on. When I worked there, I was standing on the top of a ladder checking over stuff in the seasonal section when I felt something or someone run their hand down my hair. I had waist-length hair at the time, and I heard my name being called. I was the only one there, and there was nothing my hair could have been caught on. I don't know if it was this Johnny person or someone else, but I did hear and feel something. There were other times I heard my name whispered when no one else was around. So take it for what it's worth. something or someone is haunting the store. When we were leaving at night, we would hear noise in the upstairs, so Jack Sweetland would send 2 employees, one up each staircase, hoping to catch whoever was trying to hide in the store, and there was never anyone up there. It happened numerous times. Somebody on Reddit says, I know somebody who was on a cleaning crew that was doing their floors. He said that a teddy bear followed them from aisle to aisle.
No.
Not like walking or anything, just when they went to the next aisle, that bear would be sitting at the end of the aisle every time waiting for them.
Yuck.
That's weird.
Yuck.
He never went back, but he did say he made a few bucks telling his story.
He made a few bucks telling his story?
Yeah. My aunt used to work in that store and would tell us stories about the ghosts. It wasn't uncommon to find toys in the aisles in the morning after having been cleaned up the night before. Somebody says, I work in the Petco in the same lot, and weird stuff happens there too. Dog tennis balls rolling out of the racks and office papers thrown on the floor. And yesterday, in closing, where the cat's toys are, I saw the cat bungalow move by itself, which was actually kind of cool. Apparently his name is Yanni, according to a dog groomer. Should have mentioned, this area was all one big plantation, so the whole lot is haunted, but Toys R Us gets the rap because it's a children's toy store. Somebody else says, my dad used to be store manager at that Toys R Us, and I remember him telling stories of things falling off displays, balls rolling down the aisle after closing, and even electrical issues. Somebody else said, I visited this store several years back and found it disorienting, particularly towards the back. I had the feeling of being on a ship rolling on the waves or me trying to walk on a tilted surface. There's definitely something weird about the place. Somebody else says, I have a friend who worked at the Toys R Us, which is about an hour away from there, and she said the haunted Toys R Us in Sunnyvale was frequently talked about amongst the employees and was pretty widely believed. Somebody else says, we lived down the street from this Toys R Us when I was a kid. I have no recollection of this event because I was like 2 years old, but my mom would talk about it constantly. Before it came out as haunted, I was there with my mom in the book section. Apparently there was one other person there, and the books started falling off the shelf one by one as if someone was walking by and pulling them off with their finger. The whole row of books wound up on the floor, and we just stood there frozen in shock. Never saw anything weird there after that. And the last comment, somebody writes, it's a schnazzy REI now. We went there not too long after it opened, and I asked one of the kids working there if it was haunted. He said that right before they opened, a paper towel dispenser started going on and off without anyone close by, and there was a lot of weirdness with the lights. I've spoken to the REI employees in that building about it being haunted. They all said, yes, it is haunted, and they gave me a couple of stories. They even have a worker's vest on reserve for the ghost.
That's
and
funny.
then somebody writes, the legend lives. So there you go. There's the story of the haunted Toys R Us.
Wow.
What do you think?
I mean, it's totally believable. I don't know about this Yanni Janssen part of it, but I mean, I believe that people were experiencing paranormal activity there.
Yeah. I think it's haunted. I 100%.
Especially since employees now still say that there's stuff that goes on.
Yeah. And when they said that
Places
weird
don't
stuff
just stop
happened,
being
weird
haunted.
stuff happened at the Petco. Weird stuff happened in that whole lot. And it makes sense that that was an entire plantation where stuff happened, that all those stores would be haunted. But like they said, the Toys R Us gets the recognition because it's a kid's toy store, which makes it like creepy
Well, it was the
automatically.
first thing built there too, right? The first store.
I don't know if it was the first store built there or not, but I do definitely think it's haunted.
Yeah, I do too.
The ghost picture, I don't know, because I feel like it's legit, but at the
So
same
hard when
time,
you
it
don't
does look like somebody wearing 70s clothes, leaning against, like there for the seance, and they're just leaning
they're kind
against
of
a shelf.
out of focus or whatever, but also it was when the 70s.
Yeah.
So that could be why they're out of focus. I don't know.
Yeah, they didn't have the best cameras back in the 70s.
But too many people have had experiences to just dismiss it.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily, I think this whole John Johnson thing is just hogwash.
Sylvia Brown tried to find some kind of, probably, I mean, like I said, if she knew where she was going, she could have done some research on the area and found this vague story about this guy.
But then they said the
tried to
timelines
make a
didn't match.
connection.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know. So there you go. Haunted Toys R Us, Bill and Dorothy Wacker, and the Nodolf incident. All suggested by you guys, so thank you so much. I feel like this is going to be a short episode.
Yeah, it is.
Well, we still got some. We're going to be an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So we still have song choice and listener question. Song choice.
So we have another listener question?
Yes.
Wow, good. Sometimes we don't have any. So.
I know we actually had two. Song choice. Like, I love this song. And the thing is, okay, somebody comments on this under YouTube. Somebody says, this song is an absolute classic. It will go down in history as one of the greatest remixes of all time. Somebody else says, and I totally agree with this song is so chill, but the video triggers my fight or flight response, LOL. It's a weird, the only version of the song I can find online has this weird video that's like an alien in a rave, and it's weird, but it's really artsy and kind of cool. Somebody else says an absolutely beautiful track, so much to feel from the lyrics and rhythm. Somebody else says, what a moving tune, at times reminiscent, other times hopeful. Bittersweet doesn't fully encapsulate how the track plays with the feelings, and the rhythmic beat of the remix ties it all together. Just stellar. Nobody knows this song.
I'm sure I'm not going to know it.
I watched the 3rd season of Shoresy. Like, I love the show Shoresy. It's a spin-off of Letterkenny with the really filthy-mouthed Shoresy, who's a hockey player. And it's just such a good show. And when it came out, like I said, everybody that watched Letterkenny said this is they took like this one note, perverted, dumb character and gave him a spin-off, and all of us said this isn't going to work. And it's better than Letterkenny. It's so good. The show is so good. And once every season, like Jared Kiso, who plays Shoresy and does the show, and Letterkenny is just so good at picking out songs for the show. And in the best episode of this season, they go to the arena and they're all laying on the ice because they celebrated getting a trophy and all this stuff, and they're having a party. And the song plays, and like once every season, there's a song that they play in. I'm like, I got to find this song. And then it becomes like one of my favorite songs. And that's this one. It's a song that nobody knows. It is called Home. It's by Bauer, Bauer, featuring Bipolar Sunshine, the special request remix.
Okay.
But it starts with it's piano. It starts with piano, and then it goes into like this drum beat. And it's just such a good, happy, just a beautiful song. And like, I never would have known this song existed if it wasn't on Shoresy. And other people said the same thing. Like, if you go to that YouTube comment, it's like, dang, it's like Shoresy, like, just introduces people to like amazing music. So this is Home by Bauer featuring Bipolar Sunshine. Video is super trippy, so be prepared, but I really like it. And our listener question, this person must not listen a lot because they would already know the answer to this.
Okay.
Question, who would you like to meet from the paranormal field? Anybody that listens to us is going to know that it's going to be the Newkirks.
Or Josh Gates as well.
Yeah, but Josh Gates, I don't consider him in the paranormal field. I just don't. I feel like he's...
Destination Truth, though, that was all paranormal. Those were all investigations that he would do.
Was it all paranormal?
Most of it was. He might have done other, like, mysteries, but he went to, like, the Haunted Doll Island or whatever. Like, he did a lot of investigations. That's kind of how he started. Now he does more historical
explorations and
which
stuff.
I still watch him every week. Jim, that's the one show Jim will watch with me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just never considered him in the paranormal field. Tobias and Emily.
Oh, for sure.
I consider them in the paranormal field, and I would love to meet them. But the Newkirks, yeah, like we everybody knows that we are Newkirk fanboys and fangirls here. We love the Newkirks.
Check out season 2, Haunted Objects podcast.
Zach Bagans.
No,
I'd meet him.
I would love to meet the Project Fear crew. Actually,
yeah, I know you'd love to meet the Project Fear people. Jason and Grant. Give or take. My big one is the Newkirks. Like I said, I don't know. I feel like they're really genuine. I really do.
Well, and so little of what they do is paranormal investigation, but they're just like, I don't know. I love their documentaries. I love Hellier. I love their podcast. They have a great website. I don't know. They're just all around really knowledgeable and curious about everything strange, high strangeness, synchronicities. Like, that is their thing. And I really like how they don't believe all the BS. They're discerning. But they also have beliefs that are probably considered a little crazy to some people. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure that some of their beliefs are considered crazy by some, like the synchronicity stuff is considered crazy by some people.
She's really into the fae and fairies, actually.
Is she?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking up that stuff for the next episode, but that's a daunting task. That might possibly be a 2-part episode, but there's just so much tied in with the fae, and it's really interesting because there's also tie-ins with the fae and Missing 411 and all this stuff, so it's super interesting. But I don't know. I feel like they're genuinely good people. Like I would like to meet
agree.
them. Like they're number one obviously on my meet list is the Newkirks.
We should make that happen. Just go to one of their shows at some point. They're not coming.
No, they're
very
not coming
close,
to Wisconsin,
but...
which stinks. You know, I think the closest they were coming was in Illinois, somewhere in Illinois. But someday they're going to be sitting here across from us.
That'd be amazing.
And then Josh Gates will be sitting right here.
Oh, I would die. They've been hinting at season 3 of Hellier for a while now, and I feel like I need to rewatch the first 2 seasons.
Yes, I actually do too.
Brush up a little.
I actually do too. But yeah, those are my. I would like to meet Jason and Grant. You know, like I feel like they were the forerunners, kind of, for the
ghost hunting shows.
The ghost hunting shows.
There's so much controversy around them and whether or not they faked stuff, and I struggle with that a little bit.
I still love the show MTV's Fear from back in the.
That was a good show.
And that was way before.
That was people who didn't know what they were doing.
But it was like super before it's ahead of its time. I can't hear that
song.
I know, Voodoo.
Yeah.
It's like super ahead of its time because that was way before like the paranormal bump where they would send the people into with the head-mounted cameras, and you would have to... I remember the one where the guy supposedly hung himself, and this person had to go up there and put the noose around their neck and stand there.
I remember that,
for like a certain amount of time and stuff like that, and there was some creepy stuff.
And they just had one other person that was watching them from like a command center, and they had to switch spots.
Yep, the safety, and so that was like way ahead of its time. But TAPS, I mean, Ghost Hunters was like the first.
Yeah, I was a big fan back in the day,
but
for
not so
sure.
Much. Yeah, I definitely... Tobias and Emily, the Newkirks.
They just all seem like kindred spirits.
They do. But yeah,
that was a great show.
Good question. Thank you so much.
I would love to meet Adam Berry and oh my gosh,
Adam Berry was just at
Glen Beulah.
Yeah, he was just at the school that we investigated.
I think he'll be there again for the fall thing. What is her name? Why can't Amy
Bruni?
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
I would like to meet them.
Yeah. I wonder how many of them are sitting around going, I'd like to meet the Strange Sessions
none of
people.
Them. Absolutely none of them.
The Newkirks are sitting there right now saying,
maybe
how can we...
Tobias and Emily actually know who we are, so maybe. I don't know.
But the Newkirks are sitting there right now being like, how can we meet...
How can we make this happen?
How can we meet Kurt and Krista?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I'd be too nervous meeting Kurt and Krista. At least that's what goes on in my head.
So funny.
So thank you guys so much for the suggestions. I'm getting better at writing down who is suggesting things, but I got a pretty long list of suggestions from past listeners that I'm trying to get through. So sorry this episode isn't as long as the other ones, but hey, every now and then we got to do one that's a little bit shorter. But if you have anything you would like us to look at, let me know. Like, I like these because... they're smaller, and we could do 3 or 4 of them in one episode. Like the Haunted Toys R Us, I thought about doing for a
mini mystery.
Something? But somebody did suggest it, so it's like I'll put that in the.
Yeah.
But like I said, this originally 3 stalker stories, but it was way too heavy because people were killed in the other stories and stuff, and it's like the Wackers
Is
one.
Is it paranormal then?
No.
Maybe those are side sessions.
No, but that's the thing is that there was that Cynthia James, I think, with the stalker, where she said she was being stalked and all this stuff, that those might be side sessions. Okay. The Wackers, I feel like, was this one because it's so crazy and you don't know what...
Yeah, that's
you don't
weirdness.
know what's going on.
Yeah.
So let us know what you guys think of these stories. Hopefully you liked them. And I think that's it.
Deets?
Oh, deets. I'm always forgetting the deets. Dunk, dunk, dunk. You can email us at TheStrangeSessions@gmail.com. We are on Instagram at TheStrangeSessions. You can send postcards and snail mail to The Strange Sessions, P.O. Box 434, Manitowoc, Wisconsin, 54221-0434. You can call our lonely phone line at 920-443-9602, and you can send any listener stories to TheStrangeSessionsStories@gmail.com.
Have you checked that lately? Do we have any?
There was nothing there.
Oh, okay.
Some spam.
Great.
Nothing.
We're going to have another listener story, though.
Yes.
Didn't we miss somebody?
I don't
remember.
Last
time, I feel like we might have forgot somebody.
I think we might have. I'm going to have to look into that.
Yeah.
But we want to have another one towards the end of this season.
I think they said something in the Strangers group.
And now, we want to do another one towards the end of this season, but if we don't have a ton of them, we'll just wrap it up with Reddit stories, too.
Okay.
Unless Krista gets a faceless person or a whistler in her backyard and can...
Then I'll tell that story, I guess.
Tell that story on there.
Are you thinking ahead for Halloween? What we're going to do for Halloween?
No, I haven't really thought about that.
Okay.
Did we really do anything special for Halloween?
I feel like we always try to do something more, at least more paranormal-ish, rather than missing 411 or
Yeah.
something.
No,
Okay.
that is coming up, I suppose.
Not fast enough.
No. It's supposed to be
Although it's
so hot and humid this
Today
weekend.
and tomorrow, but then 70s all week.
Yeah.
We've had a pretty mild summer.
But we got to do
just
our
had a ton
whitewater
of rain.
trip one of these
Yeah,
weeks.
we do.
Maybe the week after. Like, see what meetings you got, and
Yeah.
then we'll go there. And there you go. I'm pooped.
Yeah, I'm tired too.
This was a long morning, and
Yeah.
I'm going back home to the doggos. So thank you guys so much for listening. We love you guys a ton. If you have any stories you'd like us to look at for listener suggestions, just let us know. And from Krista and I, until next time, stay strange. Bye.